The entire leadership of the so-called progressive movement is that. They're totally and utterly corrupt. Is anyone on the left pointing this out? Has Cenk, Uygur said a word about it? The so-called radicals at Chapo Trap House?
Okay, so that is Tucker Carlson, who wants to take a dig at Cenk and clearly does know how his name is pronounced, but he also knows that he's supposed to pretend that he can't pronounce most people's names to appeal to his racist audience, so he came up with an alternate way to do it. And we're gonna get to what he's talking about there, but to understand why he started this whole monologue, we need to backtrack just a little bit and take a look at what happened at a recent AOC town hall. Look at this.
None of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because there are other war hawks.
You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. That's what you've become. You are the establishment, and you are the reason why everybody will end up in a nuclear war unless you choose to stand up right now and denounce the Democratic Party.
Okay, so those were two Tulsi Gabbard supporters who I believe are constituents of AOC, who don't like her votes to fund the defense of Ukraine and have a particular position on nuclear war that I don't think is actually reflective of anything that she's ever said and done. But they're, of course, free to believe literally whatever they want. More importantly, for Tucker Carlson, this is an opportunity for him. You can have legitimate views of AOC or anyone. For Tucker Carlson, he wants to destroy the left. He does not want progressives to have any power or any influence whatsoever. And so when he saw this, he just jumps in it. It's an opportunity for him to attack AOC and anyone else affiliated with AOC. We're gonna get to more of what he had to say, but of course, since he did name check you, Cenk, what do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna get to my response to Tucker in a second. I just wanna interrupt to say those two guys are total and complete frauds. Okay, I don't know that they live in that district at all. They're definitely not Democrats and they're definitely not progressives. Total, utter frauds, Republicans, we have to prove for it. I believed in you, he said. Total, utter liar. We're gonna prove that he's a liar.
So yeah, so one of them apparently has said on social media that he voted for Trump twice.
That guy, the guy who said, I believed in you.
I get that. My point would be, I don't, like, it's two people at a town hall. I don't particularly care what any random person at a town hall believes about politics. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna litigate it.
I'm gonna litigate it. Frauds.
Sure.
No, but I'm not, okay. Look, they're two rando trolls or whoever they are, right? They're not important. What's driving me crazy is people who are like, oh, the progressive peace activists are mad at AOC. Well, why don't you just write their propaganda for them? That was the whole point of trolling her, was so that idiots would call them progressive peace activists. They're just Republicans. They're like, Tulsi Gabbard's the best. We're gonna get back to that in a second too. She should leave the Democratic Party like her. Why don't you renounce the Democratic Party? I am a progressive. Wink. Get that out of here.
Yeah,
okay.
The only reason I say it is it's impossible for me to know how genuine, like I obviously don't agree with them. Obviously I don't think that AOC wants a nuclear war. I don't get where that comes from. But what they say is not nearly as important as the framing that comes out of it, that people like Tucker Carlson and Jesse Waters, I mean, every right-wing media figure is jumping on this because their goal is for, especially going into 2024, there to be no progressives that have any chance of taking over the Democratic Party. That is their goal. What any particular activist goal is, I have no idea. But the right wing does not want there to be a progressive alternative to either Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis, or also importantly, for us as leftists, they don't want there to be any progressives that have any support that can stand up to a Kamala Harris, to a Buttigieg, to anything like that. Because while the right wing would prefer to have a Ron DeSantis or a Donald Trump, if it's gonna come down to an AOC or a Kamala Harris, they're of course gonna go for the establishment, more moderate Democrat. And so it's sort of our duty to make sure that people understand exactly what these progressives are. Criticize them. I mean, I know you feel very free to criticize even AOC and all that, but it has to be based in fact and reality. And Tucker Carlson and all of them have no interest in that whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I've been furious at progressives, and I did a video called "I'm Burning All My Bridges" about Justice Democrats who I helped to get elected because they wouldn't fight back in a critical time during the beginning part of the Biden administration and throughout a lot of it, right? There's tons and tons of legitimate critique of policy and strategy. And have you ever heard me on Jayapal? And she's theoretically the leader of the Progressive Caucus, and she's furious with me. So we're not talking about legitimate criticism of progressives, and within the progressives, there's plenty of disagreements on actual policy as well.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about frauds. Here, I'll show graphic one, Jose Vega. So this is one of the guys. Here's his tweet. Who's blaming the president? I voted for Trump twice. Pompeo needs to go before he starts a war with Iran. Trump's the one who got us out of the Iran deal and was going to start threatening, basically almost got us into World War III. But they're trying to get you to believe that Trump is for peace and AOC is for war.
And importantly, Trump kept us in the wars, whereas Biden got us out of Afghanistan. Trump dramatically increased the number and severity of the drone strikes during his time.
So we're gonna go back to Tucker, but guys, the reason I keep emphasizing that is because this is coordinated. These two right-wing trolls go in to start this thing. They are taping, right? And then immediately Tucker and Jesse Waters and Jimmy Dore and all those guys are on it. And they're like, oh, boom, right. Oh, yes, oh, progressive activist, peace activist. Oh my God, AOC's not progressive. Later, I'm gonna tell you why they're attacking progressives, because that's super important, but keep going.
Interesting. Yeah, well, we wanted to get into more of what Tucker Carlson had to say, particularly about you. So let's jump into that next clip.
Okay, so those are actual progressives. Now, there's no doubt that on virtually any other issue, we wouldn't agree with them. Don't know what their beliefs are, probably don't intersect with ours. But on this specific issue, which does matter, they're absolutely right. Sandy Cortez is not a radical, she's not a progressive, she's a neocon.
So just to be clear, in the same way that he had to pretend that he couldn't pronounce your name, he calls her Sandy because in addition to having to reassure his audience on a nightly basis that he's a racist, he also has to reassure them that he's a misogynist as well. And if you're an actual leftist who actually is anti-war and all that, you really need to understand, and I'm sure the vast majority of you do, that Tucker Carlson doesn't care about any of that. Jesse Waters doesn't care about any of that. They're not interested in cutting the military budget or anything like that. So let's just the idea that Tucker Carlson is just calling balls and strikes when it comes to progressives and everything. He doesn't have like an agenda or anything. Like let's just be clear about who Tucker Carlson is.
Yeah, I mean, look, why do we keep saying he's pretending to mispronounce my name? Because we had an hour-long debate at Politicon, and what you might not know is it was kind of delayed, and we talked for half an hour before that behind the scenes, and then we talked afterwards as well. He pronounced my name perfectly well in all of those instances. So he knows he's doing it on purpose to be like, ha ha, he's a foreigner.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's obvious.
And so that's why we're saying it. Otherwise, my name is super easy to mispronounce, but not in his case because he knows it for a fact. And then they call AOC a neocon, hilarious, right? But remember the two guys who are progressives. How funny was that? The guy's like, I voted for Trump twice. I'm so proud of it. And he's like, no, these are progressives. I don't agree with. Okay, but then they're all backing Tulsi because she's for peace. Is she? Because she was totally in favor of the drone strikes all across the world. She was totally in favor of torture. Even back before she started pretending to be a progressive, she had all those positions. She's been in favor of every single war against, coincidentally, Muslims. So she's like, oh, Putin started a war? Yeah, I'm against the Ukrainians fighting back. I'm definitely against the Ukrainians fighting back. But she was also in favor of Russia starting what they did in Syria. Right? She was in favor of Assad. He's the one that started the civil war in the first place. Well, to be fair, he didn't start the civil war, correction, right? It was a civil war against him, but he did massive atrocities. I mean, why randomly go and support Assad? She went and met with them, right?
I have no
idea.
idea.
Supported every Russian war, every war against Muslims, and they're like, she's the one for peace. Okay, every part of this is fraudulent. That's the important part. Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and by the way, you can say that she's against American intervention, which might be generally true.
No, but she's for drone strikes all across the world.
I get that. I'm saying she's against specifically long-term occupying nation building, I guess. She's not against.
I don't believe that either, but I hear you.
Sure. But even like if you say, I don't want arms to go to Ukraine, I don't want money to be spent on it, you can say that you're against intervention. But that's not pro-peace because peace is not the result. The devastating loss of massive numbers of civilians is the result of that. Ukraine being conquered, people being killed, shipped off to Russia, raped, thrown into mass graves. That's not peace. You can say that you're against intervention, but there's no peace here. Let's just be clear about that for Tulsi Gabbard or whoever.
Yeah, and one more thing about that. So I hear Tulsi and Tucker and Jimmy Dore all saying like, oh, we're for against the war. That's why we should not help Ukraine. Do not help the Ukrainians. But I've never heard them say, oh, we're also, of course, against Putin, that monster that started this war. Well, if you're against war, wouldn't you lead with that? Wouldn't you reiterate that all the time? Wouldn't you say it once? Wouldn't you say, oh, Putin's a monster. He murdered all those civilians, started an imperialistic, aggressive war. What a horrible, horrible person, a tyrant. But God damn it, we don't want to make the war worse. So hey, listen, we shouldn't do this kind of rhetoric. We shouldn't do that kind of funding. I say, okay, well, then you have a legitimate opinion. I might not agree with how we do the funding, and there's a ton of nuance there, right? But okay, I respect that. Yeah. No, never. So go ahead, Tulsi Gabbard. Go ahead. I dare you to say that Putin's a monster who started this war. She'll never say it because she works for him. So that, guys, everything about this is fraudulent. So you can say, hey, that's hyperbole that she works for him, I guess, okay? But she certainly acts like it because she's like, I can't believe America is doing this. America's doing what, you dumbass? He's the one that started the war. He started the war and you have no criticism for him? Guys, please, look, they're targeting. So I'll just get to this right now. Why are they going after progressives? Think about it, guys. That's so weird. We're out of power. It's not like Bernie's president. It's not like AOC's the Speaker of the House. We get crushed on a regular basis by corporate media. We get attacked by conservative Democrats nonstop. Why are they going after us? I don't mind. I love the fight, but it's weird, right? So there's two reasons why. Number one, they're trying to pick off because the elections are decided a lot of times by tiny margins, certainly under 5 points. So you got really close races that might be happening in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada, etc., right? They're just trying to pick off the lowest IQ people on the left. The ones that will believe that Donald Trump is a peaceful, honest, decent person, and that Trump is more progressive than AOC. I mean, you'd have to be the bottom of the barrel IQ to believe that. But they think, yeah, I think we got maybe 2 to 5% of progressives we can get on that. You know, I mean, so some people listen to Jimmy Dore. I think we might be able to find these elusive bottom of the barrel IQ people and get them to vote for Republicans who will start more wars. Who are the most corrupt people on earth? Because we think that progressives are suckers. You're gonna let them treat you like a sucker that believe that Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump are more for peace than AOC and Bernie Sanders? I mean, you'd have to lose your mind to believe that. The second reason is because, and Tucker's a long-term thinker, and I've never called him dumb. We've talked about that a lot. Who's the only one that could actually beat a Republican in 2024? They're already thinking way past Biden. Biden's hopeless. Kamala Harris is hopeless. They already beat those two up. Only a progressive, because they would be populist, could beat a Republican in 2024. They're like, oh, please give us Pete Buttigieg, please. Give us Biden when he's 98, please. Progressive, no, let's go ambush them now. Yeah. I mean, that is thinking ahead. So credit where credit is due. Because a weirdo attack on progressives makes no sense otherwise. He's wasting Fox News airtime, not attacking Biden and Pelosi, but going after people who have no power at all. No, that's long-term strategy.
100%. Right. So the claims that Tucker's making specifically, and again, to your point, he's not just attacking AOC. Why is he attacking leftist media? Come on, it's so weird because he doesn't want there to be movement going into 2024. Anyway, the claim he's making is that people like Cenk or I guess me or whoever, all we want is war. We want nuclear war. I want to live out Fallout 4 or something. So why aren't we criticizing any of the money or the spending or whatever? Well, here's a little mashup of Cenk and Anna doing exactly that.
Biden is planning on soliciting Congress for tens of billions of dollars in additional funding for Ukraine. The money would go toward, of course, military weaponry, also humanitarian aid. But what this reveals is that the government seems to have a bipartisan effort to easily appropriate money for any type of defense spending, any type of war-related effort. And this is a perfect example of that.
Look, we love Ukraine. We love that they're fighting back. What Russia did was horrific. But whenever it's bankers or defense industry, it gets approved right away. Child tax credit, paid family leave. You want to take paid family leave? Hell no. How are we gonna pay for that? That's for the average American. They didn't bribe any politicians at all. Last word goes to one of our members, Dragon with the Girl Tattoo, said, I kind of doubt Boeing and Raytheon care where the weapons go after they get their money. So of course that's true.
There's a caveat to that. If the weapons do end up in the wrong hands, that paves the way for them to send more weapons in whatever future war we have to deal with as a result of some dangerous militia having, these dangerous weapons.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. So Tucker Carlson said, why hasn't Cenk Uygur spoken out against all this money to go into the defense contractors? Except that I did.
Yeah.
So, wow, Tucker Carlson lying. Who could have guessed that? But I'm gonna leave on Tulsi Gabbard because this is they're all saying, oh my God, Tulsi is like the queen of the left, and she's the real leftist, and AOC's too conservative, a neocon, right? So Walker Bragman tweet here about Army General Don Bolduc. He's running in New Hampshire, okay, for a very important seat, and Tulsi Gabbard's decided to endorse him. Whoa, a Republican, a Trumpy Republican. Well, maybe he's a reasonable guy. Well, let's find out. As Bragman points out, Bolduc doesn't think Medicare negotiating drug prices is a good thing. He's a corporatist. He doesn't, Jimmy's like one thing is, I care about Medicare for all. That's why I'm supporting Tulsi Gabbard. She's supporting a person who says, no, the government should not negotiate drug prices. They should just let the drug companies pick any price they like, so they could kill you with how high their prices are. She's actively campaigning for that monster, okay? But it's a lot more. And wants to end direct election of senators, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He opposes legal abortion, of course he does, but Tulsi's leftist, hilarious, has promoted Trump's big lie and suggested that COVID jabs are installing microchips for Bill Gates. That's the kind of lunatic right-winger corporatist that Tulsi Gabbard is campaigning for now. So if you hear someone telling you that Tulsi Gabbard's the real leftist, you know you're talking to a troll or one of the dumbest people alive. Okay, but to be fair to them, and that's why I read it, maybe they don't know it. But now you know it. Now you know it for sure. So if there was any of you out there that were genuine left at all, if there's a single leftist still listening to Jimmy Dore and Tucker Carlson, etc., just understand, no, they're feeding you a bag of lies and they're tricking you into supporting the worst corporatist, hawk, right-wingers you could possibly imagine. Go check out Bolduc's record, check out to see if Tulsi has endorsed them. You can look at it for yourself. She's supporting right-wing monsters, pretending that AOC is a neocon. So if you fall for that trick after this, I can't help you past that. Go get counseling.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.